Before we get started, a quick note. This episode includes discussion about body image, eating habits, calorie counting, and other topics that might be triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening, and if you need support, we've included some helpful resources in the show notes. It is Never Run Alone, take two, sort of. MacDonald here, joined by Cameron, Merrick, Sissy Bergman, and a special repeat guest, her second time on the podcast. It is dietitian Grace Liebelt. How are we, Grace?
Woo! We're good. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having me on again, guys. It's a pleasure.
Welcome back.
So welcome. Head
Very
dietitian
excited
at
to
Grams
be
of
here.
Health, nutritionist, marathon runner, multiple marathon runner. We're going to unpack a few things on this particular episode. We're going to be talking the underfueling epidemic, body image for both females and males, skinny talk, Cam and I sharing our perspectives, amongst our regular sort of mode of operating, where we obviously unpack our running over the past week, a bit of an Australian athletics update from the Sweet Prince, Cam himself. If we've got some time, we didn't have time for this particular topic, so we're dedicating it to this whole episode this week, but we may also get to some content chat later in the pod. We've got Sissy Bergman currently going viral for something she said last week, literally as we record, and then, a buy sell to end the segment. But we are going to kick off, as always, with some intro questions, some warm-up questions that have been submitted by you, the listeners, via our Instagram earlier today. So thank you for doing that. The first question is from our very own Christopher. He wants to know sunrise or sunset run. Grace, what do you prefer?
Oh,
Whoa.
man, that's a hard one. I would say it depends where I am in the world. If I was in Adelaide, a sunset run because it sets over the ocean. And if I'm here in Cronulla, I'd say sunrise because it rises over the ocean and I'm right on the beach. So that's my answer.
Yeah, well thought through. I like
That's right.
it.
Good answer.
Yeah. Cam, what are you saying?
I'm going sunrise, I think. Probably because I've been running more in the mornings, and there is something nice about, especially when you're driving somewhere for a run or a session or something like that, and you do get the sun rising as you're sort of arriving, and you're like, just when you're starting the run, it's kind of feels like you're building into the session nicely. I always like a Friday morning when I'm crossing the bridge and I see the sun rising beautifully, or I'm arriving at Centennial and there's just a massive sunrise. It's beautiful. So I think sunrise is for me, but that's probably the eastern seaboard bias that's getting me.
I like it. Sis,
I'm sunrise all the way. I think there's something special about seeing something in nature kind of before the whole world wakes up as well, and just knowing that there's sort of a day of opportunity ahead and like anything can happen. And yeah, I just love a sunrise and love a morning. I just think it's the best sort of way to set up your day. I don't catch many sunrises these days because I'm usually in bed so early, or sunset. Sorry,
sunsets. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, at least you get the sunrise. Nice. I'd probably say the same. Never run in Adelaide. Never done that. But yeah, I would say, and I don't really run in the evenings too often if I can help it. But maybe need to give it more of a crack. We only got a few more.
Until you're running
maybe
doubles.
a month or so. Yeah, true.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Non-stop running. Get both, mate. What do you
Sunrise, sunset.
Start the day and end the day. Do the full thing.
Very
all
good.
The sun.
Good question, Christopher. Thank you, mate. Missing him today, of course, but he'll be back next week. Next up, Tuna Sandwich. He would like to know, how has the team found the cross-training of bike and other mediums have helped with races? Now, I'm sure we might get to it later on, but Grace, last time we spoke to you, you were coming back from an injury, and I know getting on the bike a little bit more. I'm not sure how it's been of late, but I know, Sissy, I'll come to you first. You just bought a bike last week.
I did.
Debut in the bike.
I did.
Cam predicted this almost. Someone predicted it.
Well, look, I am a huge advocate for cross-training. It's helped me through my marathon blocks, as well as when I have had injuries flare up or niggles flare up and I have something else to kind of rely on. The purchase was quite an impulse buy, but it was from I'm planning to do 3 marathons this year. I am not blind to the fact that, unfortunately, I will probably have something flare up, a niggle, an injury potentially. It's just part of the sport, unfortunately. I'd like to avoid it as much as I can, and I'm not trying to predict anything bad happening. But what tends to happen when I can't run is I go into a deep hole of depression because I can't do my favorite thing. I can't see my friends. I can't be outside. I jump on that elliptical and I just think, God damn it, we're here again. So I'm preempting just avoiding any kind of bad headspace. And I thought, let me get a bike now when I'm in a good headspace. I can get comfortable with it. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing bad happens this year. But yeah, I just thought now's the time. And I also love spending time outside, and I love the elliptical for what it is and what it does. But my God, is it boring after a while. It's just, I don't like being inside is my issue. And I think cycling's a great way to cross train. So I'm not trying to hit it, 2-3 times a week. It'll probably just be once a week in a social aspect. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm excited. My bike era.
Love it. Grace, what about you? You've obviously been coming back, and I think you had Alabudikin's bike for a while from memory.
I still have it.
You still have it?
I still have it.
That's
so good.
I've been trying to tie that girl down, and I cannot.
You're telling us, but you're
I
trying to
was
get her on
gonna
the
say,
phone.
We cannot be up a time.
She's not been on the
And
pod since.
last time we chatted, she was supposed to come down to Cronulla for a catch up, and it just never happened. So I'm still, Ella, if you're out there, I've still got your bike, and it's not that I'm keeping it from you. I want to give it back.
She
Don't
won't
worry,
listen.
she won't listen.
I'll clip this and send it to her, and we'll see if it can work.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
the bike's now at some random bloke's place. For
maybe I'll
$1,000
start
bucks.
using it more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually funny because I was talking to our friend Beck Sissy, and she was saying that she's coming out for Tuesday morning rides with you, and I'm actually tempted to come join.
Do it.
I have Elle's bike, so
honestly, Elle won't miss it. Yeah, use it. Do it
before she listens to this, if she ever does. But
Sorry,
as
she's
far
in a
as
Merrick block anyway.
Oh,
she's
true.
not riding.
But yeah, I think the most cross training I've done a bit of elliptical and a little bit of like indoor bike, but I agree it is just not that motivating. So I've been definitely more into like my swimming era, and I think like through that kind of injury healing stage last year when I couldn't run, I felt like swimming was definitely like an excellent outlet to like just build aerobic capacity and maintain some sort of like stress relief outlet and I guess like mood stabilization. And I think it's a good way. I mean, I feel like I caught up with so many different people to go swimming with them. So it kind of expanded my network and my friend group, which was also, I think, a nice thing. So yeah, more swimming.
Love that.
I agree.
Yeah.
More swimming. Swimming's very nice. Cam, do you swim or ride a bike? Maybe a line bike home from the pub?
Do you know how to bike?
I do love a line bike home.
It's literally cheating though, as we know.
Yeah, it is cheating. But no, to be honest, I should more. It's definitely there in the plan if I need to pull anything back injury wise. Like touch wood, this has been a good, month and a bit. I haven't needed it. I just don't really have much time beyond what I'm doing right now, to be completely honest. Like I'm pretty much training like it feels like doubles every day at the moment. Or if it's a single, it's like a big session. So, yeah, it's definitely something I used more in Melbourne last year when I was battling a few things, the elliptical and also the bike. I do love the Stairmaster. I used to smash the Stairmaster back in the day and just 10 minutes of like all out, max the heart rate, just go 2 steps at a time on max speed and just listen to some like crazy music and just get like 10 minutes done, try and do like 1,000 steps or something. But yeah, it was, that's basically it. I can't say I've jumped in the pool in the last 3 or 4 years, I reckon. And I have a bike that is at my grandma's house. I reckon it's been there for at least 5 years. So yeah, cross training for me hasn't necessarily been necessary, but probably something I will try and do. If I was full-time like building, I would definitely mix it in way more. I'd be doing like double days on the bike and just getting way more volume in, but I just purely don't have the time. But I love seeing
So
other people do it because I think it's a great way that, especially people who maybe aren't ready to ramp up or have the base that others have to just rip like consistent running volume, supplementing it with bike riding and swimming is an unreal way to get the volume, because realistically, like on a bike or elliptical, same effect in an easy zone as it is with running. So you might as well take the joint impact out of it.
As
I also
Maddie
just
Abel
quickly,
said,
oh, so you go.
no, you go.
I was also just going to say what I love about swimming in comparison to the bike is that you can maintain fitness and get fitter quicker. Like you go for a 20-minute swim and you've done like a K and you're gassed, you know, but then to like build up that fitness from a time perspective, you have to have more time cycling to get the same amount of fitness as you would be running. Yeah. Love that.
Cycling is definitely a long one.
It's a good, it's a good point. I hate swimming for that reason of just like, there's a point where, you break through that ability or inability, I should say. But when you're first getting back into it, like I found when I was doing a few triathlons a few years ago, it was so hard. I felt terrible.
So hard.
Yeah. Just like
It's so
500
rough.
meters. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like never a swimmer before I got injured, but then actually I was just after the previous podcast that we were on together, and I swam the Bronte to Bondi swim, and that was my aim, was that I really wanted to just be able to swim 2.2 kilometers in the ocean. That's it, conquer my fear. And then I thought I was just going to be done, but I still probably swim once a week because I've just kind of like broken through that threshold.
Love that. Well done. Yeah, I guess onto the cycling for me. I've done 2 30K rides this week and no discomfort in the knee, which is something that's kept me from running much at all this year. And I would say it's awesome. Over the last year and a bit, 2 years, people have commented at various points my low heart rate when running, and I think it's down to the enormous amount of, I say enormous, it's not that big, but a good amount of cycling over the last 2-3 years would certainly be attributed to that. So get out on a bike if you can. Don't think I've ever been on an elliptical. Those are just the things that you hang on to and they move your feet back and forth, right?
It's no time like the present.
Honestly, don't know what the point is, but
no,
but like I'm saying that facetiously, obviously, but I'm like, I feel like, you're pulling and like your legs are being moved by your arms, but then you're also pushing
a full body workout, and you use your core and your arms. I clearly don't understand it. We'll get you on elliptical, Ren. I'll show you how to do it. Yes.
Okay. Just looks weird, but I think
don't knock it.
Maybe I saw my dad try to do it once. I'm just like, I want nothing to do with that.
Like, no, thank you.
Anyway, we'll move on. Some good questions. The next few are all dietary, nutritionally based. So I think we'll just jump straight into those. But as I mentioned at the start, if anyone would like to submit those, we typically put that question box up on our Instagram at Never Run Alone. So feel free to leave a question, but you're also welcome to send us a DM at any time during the week. We can happily discuss a topic that might be of value. And I will take an early opportunity in the pod. We'd love you to follow, subscribe, 5 stars if you think it's worth it. Obviously, there's going to be a bit more to come here. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for all those people who have asked some questions. The next one will come to you on this, Grace. This is from The Zuck is Sweet, and they want to know, what should vegetarians do for maintaining their protein and vitamin levels? I know that's a very specific one, and we're going to talk more broadly about fueling, but what's your take? I don't even know how much you know about fueling vegetarians, but please.
Well, I think as far as from a protein perspective, there's lots of plant-based protein sources that you can go towards. So, for example, like legumes, beans, lentils, peas, edamame beans, eggs. Yep. So it depends if you're like if you're vegetarian, you probably have eggs, but some don't. But eggs are excellent. Tofu is excellent. Obviously it's soybean, a derivative from soybean, and so that's really high in protein. And it's a specific protein that is, it's a complete protein, sorry. So it has all the amino acids that say like a chicken meat or eggs would have. Whereas the legumes like lentils and stuff, they don't have all of the amino acids, which means they're incomplete proteins. But if you pair them with like grains or seeds or nuts, then they're complete proteins together, so complementary proteins. So I think in answer to your question, as far as getting protein from a vegetarian diet, you just have to eat more volume. There are lots of different plant-based proteins that you can get your protein and meet your protein requirements from, but it's just about kind of stacking those proteins. So for example, like I think a half a cup of chickpeas might equal like maybe 15 grams of protein. So like if you're kind of stacking them with other, lentils or, even you can get like baked products on the market. So like I know Abe's bagels, in one bagel is about 10 grams of protein. So if you have like a bagel there, you have maybe 2 eggs, probably about 26 grams. So that's about 36 grams of protein that you have there. You could add some hummus, like a homemade hummus with some chickpeas. You're stacking it even more. So I think as far as reading your protein requirements, it's about knowing what proteins, where you get protein from, pairing them together and stacking across your day, because you just need more volume than say a omnivore or carnivore would need. And then vitamins and minerals, there are lots of vitamins and minerals across like all different plant-based foods. So I think it's about knowing exactly what nutrients you might be deficient in and getting annual blood checkups, because that way you have baseline data, you can build from there and fill in any gaps that you need. And if you're unsure, I would say seek dietary advice.
Beautiful. Well said. Sis, any thoughts? You were nodding along there enthusiastically. Maybe not the certified dietitian of grace, but
yeah, I would say in terms of like figuring out, like you said, how much protein you require in your diet each day, would you say there's a difference in how much protein, say someone who lives a very active lifestyle, say someone who is training, for a marathon, for example, and, doing high volume, when we're told that carbohydrates are kind of a really important source of food for us, obviously, for our energy levels and glycogen levels. What would you say in terms of protein? And do we need to increase our protein because we're more active, or is it kind of the same if we weren't training as much?
That is an excellent question. Firstly, I wanted to say I fact-checked the chickpeas, and it's actually half a cup equals 8 grams of protein, just to fact-check that.
Love it.
Answer to your question, I think when you increase your load, your energy demands increase. Also, the, I guess, ability for your body to repair itself. So after you're running a longer run, obviously there's more muscle fiber tears, and therefore you need more protein to actually help to bind them back together, and so that you can recover at the same rate as to whether you were running a shorter distance. So I would say your protein requirements will increase with your carb requirements and your energy requirements. I think it's all relative. As far as your energy demands, like we can calculate your energy requirements based off of your gender, your age, your height, your weight, and your activity level. And activity level is a huge, I guess, factor in that, because, your body burns a certain amount of calories at rest. You add exercise or an activity factor onto that, your energy demands will increase. Therefore, your protein requirements will also increase. So I feel like as far as for an active female, I would kind of, if you were my client, I'd probably say, and you're training for a marathon, how many Ks are you running per week?
Let's say on average, maybe like 75, 80?
Yeah. So I'd probably want you to get closer to like 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which, how much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably about 58, 57, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. So you'd probably want 105 grams of protein to 2 times, yeah, and then about to 116. So you'd like want above 100 grams of protein per day, and within that range. And I guess and I would always say err on the higher end, because that's going to really help you from, preventing injury and that kind of thing, and recovering quicker. And then the timing of that's really important as well. So,
is there such a thing as too much protein?
I think honestly, lots of people don't don't get up to their protein requirements. On like the average person wouldn't get there. So I feel like that's never really been too much of a problem that I've seen in practice. It's more people not getting enough. Yeah.
Love it.
There you go.
Thank you. You've just done my whole like daily protein count. That's perfect.
But I think people do think about like different macronutrients in isolation from each other, but they're not in isolation. They should be thought about together. So like, you know, when you're in training, you're thinking about your calories, your energy intake compared to what you're outputting, your carbohydrates as well. Obviously, your body's number one form of fuel, and then protein as well. They all go hand in hand. So I think thinking about food as a whole rather than specific isolated nutrients is key. Just last bit on that.
Love it. Love it.
It's great stuff. I guess getting into a bit more detail now, we said at the top, the underfueling epidemic. I mean, that was obviously a lot of detail, but maybe broader for non-vegetarians as well, obviously. I would love to know, you know, we've got quite a few people seemingly in the community as well dealing with injuries. I have not been running for the past couple of months. I would love if you could share, and this is very open questions, I feel like, you know, take it wherever you want, but what are maybe some basics that people can think with when it comes to obviously their training block? You know, the three of us, Sissy, myself and Cam, we're all running Boston, but people might be training for Ballarat. What are some basics that people can think with when it comes to fueling, not just the hour before their run or an hour after their run, but across a week when it comes to training? And you even mentioned there, people missing protein almost daily.
Good question. I think, is it coming back from injury or is it in the lead up to a race?
I would say both, but
Both, okay.
that's probably doesn't help.
During training.
Maybe start, yeah.
You give it like if someone hits you with the like, are people underfueling for running? You know, in general, what's the take, do you think, and how would they defeat that?
Okay, so I will start with an example. So I have one of my clients. He was an elite cyclist back in the day, and he consistently admits that he was underfueling, and that's resulted in further down the track, he's gone away from cycling that he was very good at, and of course has translated that into running. He's gone marathon running. He's done a couple marathons, really good times, but has been set back with stress fractures or stress injuries consistently since then. He would get really good, strong, fit for a race, and then would kind of drop off. And when we calculated his energy requirements, he needed nearly 3,000 calories per day, and he was only having around, I think, 1,800 to 2,000. So you can kind of see how, I guess, when it comes to the lead up to a race or just any training block and also post-injury, I think knowing what your energy demands or your energy requirements are at rest and then also adding that activity factor on is really important. So I think energy in is really important, I think, for preventing further injury, because basically your body needs energy to do all the unconscious things and functions that we don't even think about, like, you know, pumping blood around our body, healing a stress fracture, or, you know, detoxifying our body from whether we go out on the weekend and have a big night and have a few champagnes, or just digesting, resting, all the things. So I think it's important, one, to know your energy requirements based on how much activity you're doing, and also knowing how much carbohydrates you should be having per day. So I think typically if you're in the lead up to a marathon and you're wanting to fuel properly, we all know that carbs are important. So starting kind of, you know, I guess preparing early rather than, like you said, Rin, the day before or the day of, it's all accumulative. So like having 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, 6 to 9 or 7 to 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight, and knowing what that is, and then kind of trying to reach that as much as you can. But I guess if you're not used to having that many carbs, then start at the lower end and then build up. And it's the same with protein. I think, you know, knowing what your protein requirements are and kind of starting at that lower end of that range and then building up. And I think the timing of that's really important. So, everyone knows about carb loading a couple of days before, making sure that we're building up those carbohydrate stores, so our glycogen stores, in preparation for the race. And then also timing of protein. So, making sure that we have protein within an hour, specifically for females after exercise for that optimum muscle recovery. And then I guess another thing is hydration as well, and electrolytes, which I think goes without saying. But yeah, I think, someone who probably isn't as active may need more like 2 liters a day, which is kind of like the Australian average, 8 glasses of water per day. But then someone who's very active, obviously they're sweating more. So they need they need their blood to be nice and I guess silky smooth, so that they can get that oxygen to the working muscles as quickly as possible. So they need to be well hydrated. And I guess electrolytes plays a huge role in that as well. So I think, yeah, the main thing is just like knowing what your body needs and knowing what your requirements are, and then trying your best to kind of hit those targets, but build it up in a gradual way. Because I think, like when we're training for a marathon, the start of our block is going to be, we're not going to hit those PB times, because we're still building up that, aerobic capacity. It's our body getting used to training that way. So it's the same with digestion and training our body, but from the perspective of nutrition and how we fuel ourselves. That was a really long-winded answer. I'm sorry. Did that answer the question?
It was a long-winded question until Cam came in and saved me. So hopefully people followed. I feel like I did. I love it. Cam, do you know how many calories you should be having a day? How many grams of protein and carbs you'd like to fuel? You do it well. Do you know the numbers?
To be honest, I was never used to be someone who like really worried about what I ate. Like I tried to be like within reason. That definitely added up after a while, and I was probably a little chubbier than I would have liked to be without it wasn't running, 100Ks like I am now. But I did a bit of time of like calorie counting and got myself a bit, wanted to get myself back into shape and feeling a bit better. And just doing a week of calorie counting, it changes your life, I think, because you immediately are able to see what's happening in certain spots and just to be more conscious of it. I'd say, now I kind of just eat as much as I can whenever I can. My game is just, if I'm hungry, I'm already like behind. My goal is just always to be like having something going. That's also, I just love eating, but especially when you're short on time or you've just come back from an effort or you've had a big day, like my goal is to just get as much in. Like today, like I'll always try and get something in within like an hour, 45 minutes if I can, 30 minutes if I can, like instantly if I'm able to. But like this morning I had a session, was running late, went straight to work, had to go straight into a meeting, like probably didn't eat anything until like 90 minutes to like 2 hours after I finished, like went and got some food after I had this meeting. And I like was feeling it by the end of that thing. Like obviously I hadn't eaten anything all morning. I'd had some carb mix and of gel, but like the the difference that you feel of like being able to quickly replenish is amazing. And even just like, doing another run tonight, like coming back and just smashing a big load of pasta and up and go, and then like I'm immediately like back onto having energy. So for me, I think I'd say my maintenance calories is somewhere around like 3,000 to 3,500 calories. I don't know. It just depends. I kind of think on the big days where I've got gym and I've got running, they're the ones I try and prioritize, like protein. And then if I've got like just a pure like a long run or a session, I probably lean more on the carb side and try and mix that in. But it's just more, for me, it's more timing than it is like total quantity. I just try and really target like before and after workouts, and then like just throughout the rest of the day, just keep it pretty stable and just try and eat like relatively clean. Like that's my main goal. It's a lot of simple stuff that's repeatable.
And I think I also think like simple is also best. And I guess what I mean by like knowing what your requirements are, it doesn't necessarily mean like calorie counting all the time. And I think it's more about, obviously it's about, because I know that people can get too bogged down in the numbers. And like I was saying, like you don't see nutrients in isolation. It's the whole food. It's everything in conjunction with each other. They all work together. So I think it's more about like getting that baseline, kind of knowing, yeah, I guess your hunger signals, and also not missing any opportunities throughout the day to nourish your body. So for example, like those people who say that they are never hungry for breakfast and they just don't eat during the morning. I would say that's fine if you're not hungry, but I would say that it's a potential missed opportunity for you to get that nutrition in, particularly if you're, say, trying to hit like 90 grams of protein per day. And I think, yeah, again, like small frequent meals across the day. I also think, like you were saying, Cam, definitely on those longer run days or those harder session days, fueling a little bit more, whether it's like, a double batch of overnight oats in the morning, or, it's sneaking in an extra up and go after your session. It's like the bigger picture for sure.
Yeah, I also feel like it's been a hot topic with me and my friends recently, because I think hunger cues, you're always told that, you eat when you're hungry, and if you're not hungry, then, you shouldn't eat or whatever. Whereas what I'm finding now, kind of quite deep into the block, is that eating the food is almost part of the training. You don't always want to do it, but you actually just unfortunately have to. And I know that sounds like, poor us, we have to eat, but sometimes you just don't feel hungry. But for me, it's that reminder of like, nope, okay, gonna grab another snack again. Or, just did a big session. I'm not really that hungry right now, but I'm gonna make myself eat. And it might not always feel like the most exciting or enjoyable thing, but it's part of the training, and it's part of, I think it's kind of, especially if you are doing the volume that we're doing, you need to just understand that the hunger cues aren't always going to be there, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be fueling your body or letting your body recover in the proper way. And I think, it's just part of it completely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like the calorie counting point is not necessarily to be like, understanding the like, I need to hit 2,500. And if I hit 2,450, or I hit like whatever it is, that's not in my head. What I found really useful is kind of noticing the things that like blow those numbers out. Like you can sort of get caught into the trap, and it's also like, enjoy your snack or enjoy your treat, or have like within reason. But like, it's really, really easy to just blow out your daily calories with something you don't even think about as something that's like, like a packet of chips or something like that. And it's like, that's like, it could be like 500 calories, and you could realistically have like, 1.5 kilos of fruit, and it's probably less. And you'll be way more satiated and full and have more energy, and like all the, like, that's just the extreme example, but things like that. And doing a week of calorie counting, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a target, but just literally just being like, oh, I wonder what that food's nutrient, nutrient density or whatever it is, like having an idea. And then you can start being like, oh, if I sub out this for this, then I can have more of that. Like, and it's kind of like getting yourself into a rhythm where you can still maintain balance, but get a better mix across the board and feel like you deserve to have that trait or that thing within moderation. Because if you're, if you're in your first part, obviously we're talking about fueling, and you're in a situation where you probably need excess, but there's also people who are trying to balance just a diet and trying to be consistent with the calorie and whatever, that you can shave, massive gains just by being a bit more conscious of what you sub in and out of your meals. I know I've spoken with like a lot of friends about it who have, gone through bits of like trying to, and this might be more of a guy thing of trying to cut down weight in certain situations, but there's so many ways you can, without feeling like you're taking away all your food, cut down on your snacks and your high calorie foods, and just literally doing a week or two of just logging your meals. Don't necessarily have to have a goal of what you're doing, but just being aware of it can literally give you 2 weeks. You've probably ticked off most things you're going to eat realistically for most of your life.
It's
like
funny.
It's pretty simple.
I actually think I kind of disagree with you, Cam, because from a female perspective, I actually think it can be a really, really
That's a
slippery
male
slope.
perspective then.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it, and I think it's also just like a personality thing, because like I'm quite like an overthinker, and I feel like if I knew all the different calories and stats amongst my foods, it would probably have an opposite effect of me and my friends, where we would be really restrictive. And actually
Mhm.
probably start calculating things subconsciously
Yeah.
without even thinking about it.
Wanting
But I
more
do think
Yeah,
it
control.
so
is totally. I do think it is. I don't know. I don't even think it's necessarily gender specific. I think it can be very much person specific
Personal. Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
relationship
Great.
probably to food.
Yeah,
And what
definitely.
works for one person might not work for another. I think for some people, that stuff is really helpful because they might find that there might be lacking in something, or it's a really great way for them to find substitutes and have a really healthy relationship with it. Like I always track my carb load, for example, because I need
Yeah.
to know I'm getting in my carbs.
Mm,
But I have no idea how many calories I eat a day. I really don't need to know personally. I
mm,
would like to know, for example, probably how much protein and how much carbs I'm getting, but
mm,
calories, it's like for me, I don't need to know the number. It doesn't, yeah, as long as I'm fueling and eating and my energy's there.
mm.
But yeah, just a
I
hot
think,
take.
yeah,
completely fair.
I also think as well, like, yeah, like you were saying, it's more about like control, and it's definitely a personality type. But I think particularly around females, also those who I guess experience disordered eating and, you know, tendencies or things like that. I think it's yeah, it's about more the macros, I guess, than the calories. I think if you are eating consistently across the day, you know, 5, 6 small frequent meals, having your main meals, timing them around your training, I think you're doing pretty well. And I think overall, it's not necessarily, yeah, about the counting. It's more about the whole foods. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice
sorry. I'm
points.
probably
Yeah.
leaning towards calories in that sense as a simple form, but the point is more like, yeah, like you said, understanding, oh, this is probably a better mix of carbs, protein compared to this item that's, you know, high in, it's just, you know, a packet of chips or whatever it is. It's like not going to, you could, how to substitute those two things for a better macro setup. But yeah, I completely agree that everyone's got their own
Yeah.
different approach to food and how they deal with it. And some people, my personal experience was I needed to have a bit of consciousness of how I cut things in and out and how I shift the scale of carbs, protein, food. And for me, having a bit of awareness, again, I'm not counting it to the dot and what's in it, but having an idea of it made me think more in my decision making. So yeah.
It's good that that's what's worked for you, and it's interesting that we can all respectfully disagree, or certainly, you know, Cam's obviously saying that, and girls having a different perspective, and that's part of what we wanted to talk about, right? Was how, you know, our own body image around nutrition, around fueling these things. I definitely agree with Cam in the sense of you've got to find what works for you, and I think, you know, both of you girls are saying the same thing. But I've never counted calories in my life. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, probably when I moved to Sydney and started running, that I became aware, as naive as this sounds, that people did it to the degree that they do it. And obviously
This
there's
is
lots of
coming from the
reasons.
man that raw dogged a marathon.
Correct. Correct. And look, again, I am not the example. I just host this podcast
No,
amongst
I know.
a
I'm winding you
few
up.
other crazy things. But like we're all imperfect people trying to figure out what works and how to live our lives. But I think I would say that intuitively, absolutely right. One thing that I loved that Cam said was like, if you are hungry, you're probably behind.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're pushing to, you know, run a marathon, you know, you've got to fuel yourself. And absolutely, when I ran my first marathon, you know, almost 2 years ago, all I had was a few Coke bottles. Sissy, you blew past me, as we've spoken about on this pod before.
Well
You know,
fueled.
and you were you were fueled. I had no idea what I was doing. Right. So there's clearly things that we can learn. But yeah, Grace, maybe coming back to you as the expert here is like, how do you work with people, whether they're running races, marathons, triathlons, whatever the case may be, or just wanting to get, you know, their diet and health in order when it comes to things like that, whether they're males or females? And you sort of said that it's maybe not gender specific. I sort of feel like it is, but I, again, have a very limited view of what this looks like.
I think across society, like there are gender differences, obviously. I do think it is like specific to the person in a way that, you know, maybe if you're more of a type A person, you could be more, I guess, controlling over, you know, what you're putting in your body and wanting more control and to, I guess, Yeah, I guess have that more, like, you want to do it all. So you want to know exactly what you need to get yourself to do it all. But and compared to a type B person who's maybe a little bit more relaxed. I think when I work with my clients, as far as like energy goes, and food, like I kind of do the calculations and then I make my recommendations for them in a food first approach. So again, like, um, it's all about, yeah, whole foods. And I think fueling for performance, fueling for, your hunger cues, whether you have them or you don't. And I think it's also just building that positive relationship with food. Like Sissy was saying, everybody can have different relationships with food. And I think it's about seeing food as nourishment and fuel and, a source of connection and enjoyment, rather than, numbers. And yeah, I think, yeah, I think it's individual, but I see that it can be gender orientated as well.
So for you boys, what is your relationship, if you don't mind me asking, been with your body image, I guess kind of growing up and then getting into the performance space? Cam?
Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah, I think I was saying before, there's bits and pieces of it. It kind of ebbs and flows. Like I don't worry too much about. I know I talk to mates and like they openly will tell me that they find like Instagram and fitness talk and things like that or whatever quite toxic in the sense that it's just you just open it up and it's just like ripped blokes with abs all the time and there's like an expectation of you being there. I think probably getting into the marathon world and like running world, I've kind of disassociated that. Like I kind of know I'm going to go through ebbs and flows, but in the past I've definitely had um, more conscious of it and like definitely be like, sometimes it's a positive thing in the sense that it's like, okay, that's an indicator in myself that I maybe want to be a bit more active or I've been a bit slack or like whatever. But there's also times I'm like, I need to consciously be like, it's all right. It's part of a cycle. I might just feel a bit bloated today. I might have had a shitload of water. I might not have done whatever. I might not, whatever I had last night for dinner. Like there's a whole bunch of different things. So it's been pretty like even, but there's definitely been parts where you can definitely go down the rabbit hole of like, you're just seeing people who had got unattainable or just crazy physiques that you're like, oh, that'd be cool to have, but I'm not really going to do that. And then bring it to food. I think now I'm in a comfortable spot. Like I was saying, I don't really worry about what I eat right now. I kind of just eat for fuel and I eat with a view that it's all part of just a long game. Because I'm training so much, I'd rather be overfueled than underfueled. I'd always rather like err on the side of if I say add a kilogram or something like that, that's fine. It's all gonna even out in the thing. I'd rather be, especially in a big week, overeating and overfueling more than anything. Not necessarily overeating, but overfueling. So yeah, for me, it's kind of ebbs and flows, but pretty good now more than anything because it's just I kind of view it as performance rather than aesthetics.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
I
What about
guess,
you, Ren?
yeah, I don't think I've ever had a big issue with it. As I sort of alluded to before, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I became more aware that it was a problem for a lot of people. I feel now, right? I feel like a lot of people have maybe not a problem, but certainly are thinking with, it in regards to their body image. For me as a kid, I had a few interesting moments, but never anything too bad. Played a lot of sport when I was a kid. Was a lot of energy, which probably won't shock the three of you. Was always bouncing around and doing different things, playing lots of sports, soccer, little athletics. And then I probably, like most, males, young age, really depended on my parents cooking wise, even into my early 20s. And it wasn't until I properly moved out, I think the second time, that I actually started cooking. I was like maybe 25, 26, which is maybe a bit embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. And I'll happily say it because I'd like to think I'm a good cook now and really appreciate cooking as opposed to eating out. But I've never weighed myself in terms of, obviously I have weighed myself, but it's not been a regular thing that I've felt like I had to do. I've always gone like, oh, I've probably been eating a bit too much of X of late. I love peanut M&Ms. Used to smack a bag in 15 minutes when I was a teenager. Probably can't get away with that in your late 20s, early 30s as, anymore, right? I got a bag for Valentine's Day from my girlfriend. That was lovely. But I've spaced out eating those over the course of a week as opposed to 15 minutes. So, but I also know that it's not good and it doesn't feel good, right? And I think when you're a kid, you just want this, I don't know, you just lack discipline, or you just want this thing that you maybe can't get access to. So I feel like I'm maybe waffling a little bit now, but in all of that sense, it comes back to that point of I never thought it was an issue. And part of the key thing, I think, I grew up in a household where my parents were divorced, but I mainly lived with my mum, and I had 2 brothers in that house. And we ate so much food and we played so much sports. And so my poor mum feeding, 3 boys and a husband, just like constantly eating, it was never an issue. Whereas it wasn't until I had girlfriends in my 20s and had conversations with them that I was like, oh, this is more an issue for girls. And I'd never really had mates, at least that I've spoken to, about it. Maybe men don't talk about it as much if they do have an issue with it. With that said, would I like to be more jacked in certain ways, have more muscles? Do I feel pressure from society? In some cases, for sure. But at the same time, I love my body. I love what it can do. Maybe not so much of late. I've been a bit sore, obviously, but on the whole, that's my take. And I feel like I've had a pretty good relationship with my body and food over the years.
Yeah.
What about you girls? Sissy, you might want to start.
Yeah, I think I've probably had quite a typical female upbringing with my body, and I'm maybe not, but I feel like it is quite a general view of a female body, where there is that kind of classic comparison when you're growing up, and the body changes at different ages and things like that. And I think that it wasn't probably until I was kind of always a bit like the same weight, I would say. I was always sporty, but not like to the level I am now. And then I think it wasn't until I got into properly training and running where I dropped a lot of weight very quickly from just not being educated enough within the nutrition space and understanding exactly how much my body needed to fuel. And it was a funny one where I was getting a lot of compliments for how well I was looking, which was quite interesting. I did go from working hospitality, drinking a lot, working crazy hours, to then, working an office job, dropping a lot of weight. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, you look great. Like, you look amazing. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, I need to be like sort of a lower weight for people to kind of like comment on me. So I think it probably had a little bit of damage to me mentally. And I then was kind of properly into training and was getting injured a lot and was getting a lot of concerns from my family that they thought I had an eating disorder, which I didn't have, but I was underfueling and just not training or not fueling around my training by any means. Didn't know what gels were, didn't know what a carb load was. I was just kind of eating my normal meals, but then training, 65, 70 kilometers a week. And then very quickly got depleted, very quickly got injured, and spent 18 months just going from injury to injury to injury, to feeling really depleted, to feeling really low in energy, to sleeping really poorly. My mood was really bad. It just had like all of these impacts across my health. And I unfortunately had to learn the hard way that, yeah, you need to eat a lot of food, and needed to gain a lot more weight and a lot more muscle, and now feel like a whole new person for it. And my body is just thanking me for it so much more. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but I feel like I had to go through it to understand it. And I feel like, unfortunately, sometimes it is just the hard way. And if I see people now going through similar patterns to me, I try not to be too sort of like, I'm not educated in the space, but I try to at least listen and understand them to advise. But yeah, there's only so much, information you can give someone. And sometimes they do just have to kind of learn the hard way, because at the end of the day, people will just do what they do. But what I do think is positive out of everything that's going on at the moment is that I feel like we're going through a really tough period for people going through this, underfueling epidemic, but I feel like, and stress fracture epidemic, but I feel like on the other end of it, in a year from now, people are going to be stronger. They're going to be fitter. They're going to be faster. They're going to be less injured because we've gone through all of this, that in a year or two, everyone's going to come out of it so much better for it in a sick kind of way, if that makes sense. I feel like we kind of needed to go through this to go, this is serious. You need to take this seriously.
Yep.
So that's a long-winded
Love it.
No, that was so
my
good.
history.
I think
That's
you're
awesome,
you're bang on, and I think like anything, when you're growing up and your parents say, you know, it's okay if you make mistakes because you learn from them. This is exactly like the era that we're learning from, and I think you can only see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think this learning is that. Yeah.
Bang on. And one thing, just before we maybe come to you, Grace, I know Cam might want to make a comment. I want to ask all three of you. Sissy, you said this when people were, you know, commenting that you look great. Is that a question you three feel comfortable asking or saying to someone, right? Like, or do you, you know, have you lost a lot of weight? You look great. Those sorts of comments. What are our thoughts? Because at a barbecue on the weekend, moved back to Melbourne, saw a guy that I hadn't seen for quite a while, and he looked like he'd lost quite a few kilos, but I wasn't 100% sure. And so I didn't say anything. And then in the conversation, he said to me, oh, you know, I've lost 30 kilos in the past 6 months. And I was like, in my head, yeah, wow, no shit. Like you have. Still, he said in his own words, has a bit more to lose, which is part of why I didn't make the comment. But what do you feel? Maybe you can mention this first, Grace, because I feel like you obviously work with people maybe going through similar issues. Yeah, what's the right way? And I feel like it's a personal thing. Maybe it's your relationship with the person naturally and how comfortable you feel. But yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people probably.
It's a dangerous game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one. Again, I think it's personal, but I think that, yeah, I feel like someone who has had a not great relationship with food or with their body image, I feel like those comments, they kind of play with your mind a little bit, especially if you're in kind of that downward spiral of, you know, thinking that you need to be thinner or fitter or, you know, need to lose more weight. It kind of feeds into that. So I think I think ultimately I think it's hard. I feel like it's an individual thing. I think you can kind of say, hey, you look really good. I love your dress. And then maybe if that feeds into them being really proud of, you know, they've gotten fitter and that kind of thing, then that's maybe a better way to go about it. But I think commenting saying like, oh, you look thinner or you look fitter maybe isn't the most helpful of comments. I don't know, Sissy, what do you think on this?
Yeah, I think I really try not to comment on someone's like physical attributes in terms of like their body. I find I quite using like the term you're looking really well. Because to me, if someone's telling me I'm looking really well, that's kind of a little bit of everything. That's like I'm looking healthy and happy and
You're glowing.
you're
Your
glowing.
soul is
Yeah.
emanating.
Yeah. I like
100%.
happy.
Yeah.
Happy
And it's
Yeah.
like a term that I've tried to like adopt, that if someone I feel like, you know, is looking well, I say, you're looking really well. Like, how are you? Rather than it being like, oh, like, you know, you're looking really fit or you've lost weight, or even sometimes I do quite, you know, in the women's space, I don't mind saying someone looking really strong, because I think that to me, strong is really empowering. But again, I do try to kind of minimize how much I kind of comment on someone's physique, because I have no idea what the impact of that comment can make. And even though we might assume someone might be fine, we have no idea that they might unpack that later. So yeah, I do, it happens. And sometimes I even say it and then I kind of think later on, like, I shouldn't have mentioned that. But I am trying to kind of unlearn those habits about commenting on some people's bodies, essentially, because I think it's just best not to. If they want to mention they've dropped loads of weight and they're really proud of it, then you kind of, they'll do that in their own time, and then maybe you can have the conversation. But yeah, I try to avoid it as much as possible.
I really love those descriptive words, like you're looking really happy, you're glowing, you know, you're looking like strong. I get, like, if you're talking to another female, that's really empowering, but I really like happy and glowing. I think the only thing I think with maybe like you're looking healthy is that maybe they would think take that as like, oh, was I looking unhealthy? That's the only thing that I would say. But I love glowing, I love happy, and I love strong as well. I like those descriptive words.
I'll say on behalf of all men as well, if you describe them as looking strong, probably make our year.
100%. Yeah. You're looking really jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you been in the gym?
Yeah. You're looking
You
really
do one push-up?
swole.
Working out.
Yeah.
I picked up a heavy thing once.
What are your thoughts, Cam?
I try and just keep it to people I know their journey and context if I'm going to talk about them. Like, you know, if I know someone who's going through and has a plan and has talked to me about what they're trying to do, in whether it's trying to lose weight, you know, slowly, or whether they're trying to go to the gym more or they're running more and whatever, it's just like supporting that journey. You know, it's like, hey, yeah, like, you know, someone who's been on a weight loss journey for, you know, a couple months, and it's like, hey, like, you're looking really good, like, killing it, like, I'm proud of you, doing really well, like, keep doing what you're doing, like, how are you going with it all? And just kind of like engage in their story, I feel like is the biggest thing. Like, giving just a surface level comment's one thing, but being like, hey, like, how are you actually finding it? Like, how's it, you know, you might be feeling this way now or look this way or whatever, but maybe had a really rough couple of weeks. But yeah, the point I was going to come back to is that I feel like a lot of the time people will see the outcome of people's like training or fitness or whatever their journey is, but not see the fueling and their diet and their lifestyle behind it. Like, they might think that, oh, someone who's a marathon runner, they're skinny, so I need to not eat, or like I need to look that skinny, or I need to drop weight, or like whatever it is. And in reality, like, if you looked at what I eat versus how much I run, like, I'm like just shoveling food into my mouth most of the day. But like, you might not think that if you saw me compared to someone else. And the same goes, that's just everyone's got different bodies and different metabolism and things like that. So I think that's why it's being aware of, you know, you've got to listen to your own body. And the only way you do that is by trial and error. Like, I think we always talk about, you know, practicing your fueling before a race day. The reason you do that is because, like, what works and what makes you feel good, what makes you, you know, feel sluggish, and maybe you're like, you know, you got higher highs of energy and lows of energy. Like, just the more practice you can do, the better. But yeah, I just think having both comments really is trying to engage in context, and having context to a situation is going to give you more insight and allow you to have a better interaction with that person and that content, and, you know, your own journey. So yeah, I think just trying to source content is the biggest context. Sorry, not content, is the biggest thing.
Nice. You said it I think it was before we started talking, Grace, how there's like this analogy of different breeds of dog.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you want to share that thought.
Absolutely. So I guess as far as like body dysmorphia goes, and, you know, body comparison, I mean, like Sissy was saying, I also grew up, and particularly as a teenager, struggled with body dysmorphia. I think, as you know, we're at that vulnerable age. There's lots of skinny talk on social media, and not just on TikTok, but also on Instagram and, you know, Facebook and all of that, which we'll touch on later. But I think it's really important to know that we're all different. And like Cam said, we all have different physiologies. We have different backgrounds. We all eat differently. We do different activities. And like a pug, for example, if we're comparing, you know, a pug to a Labrador or a pug to a Greyhound, they are completely different dog breeds. And even if they ate the same, they did the exact same exercise routine, you know, they got the same antibiotics when they were sick, they literally would not change, and they would not be like each other because they're different breeds. And that's okay, because they're both beautiful and wonderful, and they are strong, and they can do so many different things in their own right. It's just they're not the same, and that's okay. And I think it's the same for us all. We're all different dog breeds, and we're all each wonderful in our own way and can perform in our own way.
Dogs.
But we're not the same.
Same thought.
I love it.
Me and Cameron, same thought then. No, I do love it, but I know it probably means I'm not going to become an NBA basketballer at the age of 33. That's 6'2", you know. Anyway,
never say never.
Never say never.
Yeah, it's true.
Great stuff.
Couple more pliers, mate. You're right there.
Yeah, exactly. Did you want to maybe share a bit more about your journey with that, Grace? Maybe, body image. You sort of mentioned it a little bit there, outside of the dog analogy. I think all three of us had a good shot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the running space, which I only really got to when I was maybe like in my 1920s era, and I kind of before that was definitely more, I guess, conscious of body image, but I think it just comes back to the societal body ideal for females being thin. And I think because my body wasn't like the Australia's Next Top Models bodies, I just, you look online and you see a beautiful chick in a bikini who's saying this is what I eat in a day, and this is the exercise routine I do. I was very like focused, well, if she can do that, then I can do that too, and we can look the same. But like in the dog breed I guess analogy, I realized that quickly that it's not the same. And I think when we look at body imagery and social media, we do have to try and detach ourselves and those negative thoughts that come into our minds, which I definitely learned the hard way, that if you're telling yourself that you're not good enough, or you're not thin enough, or you're not like that you know gorgeous model on Instagram, so you're not going to be happy. It's not your thoughts. It's someone else's. It's that those kinds of thoughts are not going to benefit you in any way. You just need to detach yourself and separate those thoughts, because you got to recognize they're not yours. And I think I learned that kind of over my teenage years, and even into like when I started running. You look at the typical distance marathon runner, and they're very fit and they're very strong, but they're quite lean and quite thin. And getting into running, I was never really like that, and it took me a while to kind of see that it's okay that I'm not like that. I can still perform in my own right. And, it's honestly it's not based on how you look. It's how you feel. It's how you perform. It's how you recover. It's also your mental state as well. I think, like I was saying, detaching yourself from those negative thoughts, our brain is like wild what it can do, to get ourselves through a marathon, to get ourselves through a triathlon. Like, it can be so positive in so many different ways, but those negative thoughts can be so detrimental, and get yourself into those downward spirals. So and again, like you said, Sissy, as well, like hormones have a huge role to play in that, and particularly for females when we go through, when we first start menstruating and we're teenagers, like a very vulnerable rapid growth stage. And then you get closer to maybe when you're having kids and you go through pregnancy, again, your hormones change, your body changes. And that can be a really typical challenging period for females as well, as far as body image. And then you get further down the track to menopause. And then again, that's when, you basically, your hormones just kind of shut off, because you're not getting ready to have a baby anytime soon. So that's another thing where your body goes through another big change, and body imagery can really, I guess, and your relationship with your body image and body dysmorphia can be really challenging there. So I think a lot of different factors plays into it. I think I've learned I guess, to try and detach myself from those negative thoughts. And I remember my mum saying, when I was a teenager, when I was really struggling with, not looking like the Victoria's Secret models or the runners who are stick thin, I think she said, just think of those thoughts, those negative thoughts, like the last bit of cake batter in the mixing bowl, and you get that spatula and you just scrape that shit out, and then you throw it in a bin. And she literally got a physical bin and put it next to my bed. She was like, scrape those negative thoughts out of that bowl and chuck it in the bin, because you are in control of them, not them. Don't let them control you. So that was a long-winded answer, but I like that analogy.
I like it. Go mum. It's great stuff.
Love that. Love that.
I hope it all helps for you listeners. Yeah, some really good points. I feel like we've obviously been talking about it for, well, a bit over an hour now. We maybe parked that particular topic there, but clearly a big one. But hopefully, as I say, it helps. People should definitely reach out to you, Grace. We should maybe move into a brief whip around to each of us for a bit of an update on our running for the week. And maybe we'll come to you last, Grace, given last time you were on, you were, I think, well and truly injured, or certainly more injured than you are now.
I think you were about to go for your first run last time we saw you.
That's right. You were just coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, October. It was mid-October. You're right.
October.
But we'll come to you last, Cam. You were at Loch Ave at Senny P this morning and just ran
Was.
before this. How's your
Locked
week
in,
been?
haven't you? Yeah, it's been good. Been good. Yeah, big week last week. Stacked a nice brick of about 115K, 3 sessions. Had a massive session on Saturday, 32 with 4x3 at Marapace, and really felt really good during that. Probably 5 degrees cooler than it's been for the last 3 months, so that definitely was nice. So yeah, feeling good. Yeah, did some hills and some Mara stuff this morning, just trucking along. Had a bit of shin shin splint sort of vibe, but just some inflammation around my shins. It was a little sore. So yeah, I mean, I'll talk to what my buy is later in the week, later in the episode, but yeah, some stuff around that to help me get back. But yeah, just trucking along, trying to, like we said, focus on eating, sleeping, and everything else in between. So yeah, another big week on the cards and building very nicely.
Very
No
nice, mate.
complaints.
About 8 weeks from Boston, I believe. Sissy,
Yep.
how are you traveling?
Yeah, I am doing well. I had a big session on Saturday, similar to Cam, 32K with some longer tempo efforts. It was about 8K into 6K of just hard efforts around CP, which was quite a mental battle. But as Cam said, the change in weather definitely made a big impact. I am quite tired this week. I'm not going to lie. It's hitting me slightly, which is fine. I've just had a few, when you just had a few bad sleeps and you can't really afford to have bad sleeps right now. But body's feeling fine. It's just my legs are just a bit flat this week, unfortunately. But I saw Ash yesterday, had a good alignment with her, which was great. Had some tempo efforts this morning, which I was graced by the wonderful Chris Farrencothen, who jumped in on my session, which I was very grateful for. It was just very hard. It was 7 minutes on by 4, longer efforts, tried out some new speed shoes that just not as good as the Pumas. So I felt like I had to just push a little bit more than usual. And then doing the unofficial race tomorrow, the team race, which is exciting, into a 5K or 5K time trial on Saturday, which I am dreading. I have been pacing so many 5Ks now that I'm like, oh my God, I actually have to do my own. Yeah. So
where are you doing it?
What's the target and where are you doing it? Yeah.
I'm doing it at Slovenia track down in the Shire.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, being paced by a dual Olympic marathon runner, Eloise Wellings, which is
so cool.
Paced by royalty. So if anything, I'm actually quite excited. And the aim is low 17s, is what Coach Maddie told me. So
beautiful.
Unreal.
We shall give it a red hot crack. And it was 2025 December 28th that I did my parkrun time trial. So I'm excited to give it another go, but I'm a little bit nervous because I'm just tired, man. I'm so tired.
Can still rip your best performances when you're tired, sis.
Yeah, I hope so. So 6:30 a.m. Slovenia
5Ks
track.
between the ears.
Yes, true.
Girl, I'll be there.
Great
You're going to be my local.
Oh my God, yes. I'm bringing all the girlies. Great. I mean, Beck's going to be there as well. Amira.
I know, she was telling me last night at dinner.
Yeah.
So excited.
I need all the encouragement. It's just 17 minutes. That's going to fly by. It's going to be fine.
Easy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
but other than
that,
I'm good. Yeah.
Superb. Grace, do you want to share with us a bit about what's been happening recently? As I think we mentioned, October was the last time we had you on and you'd just come back from an injury. But I believe you did 10Ks around CP this past week. First time you've hit double digits since then, since pre-injury.
Yeah. It's been, really good. That was honestly, it was like, that first run back, getting to a first 10K that I've done in the longest run I've done in 8 months. I just felt normal again, I think. And, I always found so much joy in running. And I kind of put that aside whilst I was injured to find that joy in swimming, which I still do, but it just, nothing hits the same like running does. And especially being able to run with your friends at Sunny P, the local, watering hole. So it's feeling really good. It's honestly, it's a slow build. Like when I last talked to you guys, since then, I swam that Bondi to Bronte swim. And then I got into my walk run program, which was about a month. And then it was just like slowly building up from there. And I think what has been good is that I've been running with lots of different people, and I've been running a lot slower than I ever have in my whole running career, which has actually been so nice. And I've like learnt how to run slower than my normal pace used to be. So like on the weekend went for a good old 6K with my mum, who runs at a 6-minute pace, which I was like, this is actually, I feel so grateful that now I know I can run at that pace so that I can run with my mum. So fun. So
That's
it's
awesome.
just a
Love that.
slow build up, really. I think, no sessions for me. It's just building it up. I'm up to 30 Ks per week at the moment. So just gonna keep building.
Trust the process.
I love it. I mean, when you're playing a game that's like not just trying to chase an immediate quick time, marathon time, if you're building up over a long period of time, that's, I think, what you should do. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. As much as it's been tough not running the past 6 weeks, I'd rather get healthy and still be able to run a good marathon potentially later in the year than try to push myself to run a PB in Boston, even though it's on the calendar. So my last couple of days, just bike rides, and a few workouts at the local park. Haven't been able to get to the gym, but my local park has one of those outdoor sort of setups with the bars and rings and all of that, which is handy.
Muscle Beach, Muscle Park.
I love that. It's like the guys down at Bondi.
Yeah,
but you're the Bondi equivalent, but in Melbourne.
Yeah, not quite the same. There's a soccer pitch right near it, which is great. I love my soccer, but that's really been my week. I'm seeing a physio tomorrow, which I booked in like 4 or 5 weeks ago to see. So the day is finally here. I'm catching the train up to country Victoria, Echuca, if anyone listening knows where that is. So that'll be fun.
There is a Zambrero there.
There we go. So my appointment's at 11 o'clock. I'll be getting the train so I can read on the train. And then I'll maybe get in the Zambrero, stay fueled, and then train it back. And that'll be the day.
Shout out. Get some hot chips.
Get some hot chips. There you go. Could do that.
Love it.
But I'm excited. I think I'll be able to get back running. I'm confident. Like the body's feeling better each and every day. Bit more regular routine. Feeling well. Just need to get this little knee assessed, and we'll go from there. And you never know. Maybe I just enjoy Boston and just cruise at a pace that's comfortable for me. It sounds like a lot of fun, quite frankly.
It does.
I'm excited.
It's honestly,
having done it with you at Sydney, it was fun just to vibe and taste the vibe. Like, I think as long as you get there in one piece, which I'm sure you will, like there's a lot of options for you to have a pretty fun day, I reckon.
Yeah,
agreed.
You guys were beaming that day. Absolutely beaming.
I mean, I wasn't beaming on the inside. It was tough in the head, I tell you what. But no,
Cam was
I
having a
appreciate it.
great day. Yeah.
That's it. Great stuff all around. Obviously, we're a little bit time crunched now, but I still think we run through some of this Oz athletics updates. Cam, tell us what's the most important things we want to know, because we do, as part of this podcast, also want to bring attention to the great Australian runners, and there seems to be something happening every week. So tell us.
Yeah, I mean, probably the first one off the top that we made a little reel on was Jack Rayner breaking the Australian half marathon record in Barcelona.
Enormous.
Just crazy. Like 59:53, like second Aussie to ever go under an hour. I think he came 6th at Barca half, which is like a seriously high level half marathon, like sort of up there with your Valencias of the world. Probably Valencia, Barcelona.
Spain just love it, hey.
And then a couple of those Japanese ones. But that is a seriously impressive time. And I know he has been doing did a lot of work up at Falls Creek and some altitude stuff. Obviously came off Melbourne Mara victory at the end of last year. Had probably a little of a disappointing Tokyo World Champs experience. So that was yeah, that was unreal just to wake up and see that on the weekend. So yeah, I love seeing that from Jack. Then the Oz Athletics season is sort of just starting to kick off. There was the Perth track meet on the weekend. There's Melbourne coming up. The Maury Plant meet is in a few weeks. But yeah, a couple of Aussie boys, especially those guys from WA, getting pretty solid showing on the weekend. Peter Bowl put down 5th best time by an Aussie ever. He's now got all top 5 times in the 800,
Wow.
143. Cooper Sherman went 7th Aussie all time. A lot of guys and girls trying to qualify for the Com Games at the moment, just trying to get under that threshold. Avi Caldwell had a good 1500 for it too. Michelle Janecki came back in the hurdles after sort of a ruptured hamstring last year, I think took her out. So she's sort of back to her best, which is cool. And then probably just a small one locally was at the New South Wales 5K champs was on the weekend. And it was Zoe Melhush, 1609 in the women's. And then Luke Hintz, I think, who is probably one, I'll be interested to see how he sort of progresses, but he ran a 14:02. 14:000 flat, 14 flat, just above, the sub 14, but he won by about 25 seconds. So pretty impressive in a 5K. So yeah, 14 flat. So yeah, some good racing over the weekend, but I'm looking forward to seeing sort of the Aussie contingent sort of start to get back into the field, get back into the season, and sort of start ramping up for the Com Games in June. So looking forward, June, July, I think. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Lovely. Great stuff. Plenty always happening in the world of Oz Athletics, so we should definitely support it. We're going to chat content next week, and we will have another special guest next week. Obviously, we've loved having you, Grace, but we are going back to back with special guests, so stay tuned for that, and content could be a good part of that conversation. I think we jump into buy, sell. Cam, you alluded to a potential buy or sell earlier on. Maybe we throw to you first.
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. One I've bought before, I just want to reiterate, is the Night Wrap anti-inflam situation. The Voltaren and Arnica, get the Glad Wrap on. It looks a bit stupid, but did that on my shin and it made a world of difference. But I just want to talk on, like, my buy is shoe rotation and not feeling that you have to rip carbons all the time. I feel like it's a mindset thing of being like, I need to hit these times, and if I'm going to do the session, I want to have the fastest time I can have. But realistically, it's the same effort in terms of your cardio, just to rip the session and go on feel. It's okay if you're 5 seconds less per K in a training run than you would be if you're rocking carbons, if it's going to mean that your ankles and your Achilles and your shins and everything else aren't just getting slammed with impact for an extra session they don't need. It's okay, is what I want to say. Sometimes it's good to mix up the surfaces you run on, the grass, the trail, dirt, whatever, if it means that you're not going to be, a lot of the reason people are getting stress fractures as well is they're ripping sessions on concrete or on track in carbons when they're not ready for it, because you can imagine a carbon plate is the reason why they work is because you got to put lots of force into them, but they give you force back. And if you do that consistently, it's just putting more force through your joints and your tendons and your bones. So my buy is shoe rotation, and more so not feeling like you have to rip every session in carbons.
Love it. Great shouts. Sissy Bergman, what do you got for us?
I am buying, and this is on the nutrition route, is implementing more natural probiotic high foods into your diet. So I think as runners, we consume a lot of gels and a lot of things that can be quite upsetting for the stomach. I don't know about you guys, but if I have a big session with a lot of gels, it doesn't agree with my stomach for pretty much 12 hours throughout the day. But I think it's really important for us to throw in some really great fermented foods. That can be like kimchi, that can be like cabbage, that can be kombucha. But I just think it's really important for us to look after our gut, because that controls a lot of everything else that's going on in our body, including our mood and whatnot. So yeah, throw in some kimchi next time you're having dinner. Go down to your local Asian grocer, Make sure it's kimchi that has to be refrigerated, not shelf stable, because it's not the same benefits as refrigerated kimchi. Same goes with kombucha. Shelf stable, don't go for that. Go to refrigerated. That's how you know, because it's live cultures in it. And kefir. Kefir is also great.
Yeah. And yogurt.
And
but
yogurt.
Make sure it has live cultures within the ingredients list.
Yes. 100%.
Nice.
Love that.
Love a bit of booch.
Great show.
Yeah.
I
Love
love
the
some kombucha.
Love kombucha.
I took you to a mate of mine here in Melbourne, Cam, when you were down for the marathon.
I did the rocket fuel before Melbourne.
That's some genuine kombucha right there. Holy moly.
We love that.
Love it.
Great.
That was off the back of his truck.
Yeah, seriously. So I'm going to buy, and it's a real, I don't know if it's that weird, but it seems weird to be saying it. It's phone calls. Right? Now, I'm a notorious voice noter. I sent a few voice notes to you today, Cam.
Obviously, and I sent a few back.
I love this one.
Sent a few back.
I love a
text
voice
message all day, but yeah, voice notes are good, but I also think you're then putting on a lot of pressure on the other person to remember. Like, I've gotten a few 5-minute voice notes before, and it's like, what are we doing here? I have to take notes, then I have to send stuff back. It's a shambles. Phone call, it's live. You got to reply in the moment, right? And it's obviously been a thing for a while, but I've made a lot of phone calls the last 3 days, and I'm telling you, bring back phone calls. Just more phone calls, less texts.
Bring it back.
I love a run phone call. I call people on my run when I'm bored and I'm like, I just need to kill time and let me just check in on how people are going.
There you go.
Yes.
People love I think a lot of people love getting a phone call.
She's never got a phone call on the run. That's what I'm saying. That's a head.
Excuse me, you got my number.
Sis, I run with you, usually next to me.
This is true.
And you're just yapping to someone.
He's
Meanwhile,
like,
Sissy's like, hey.
Sis, sorry, I'm on the phone. Like, can you just
I'm calling you.
Hello? Can you not see this? Phone calls.
Phone calls when you're driving as well, particularly in traffic. Helps make time go like this. So good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Obviously love podcasts, love music, but yes, make a quick phone call.
Call your mates, guys.
I need to call my mum this week.
Check in with your loved ones.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep. If you're lucky enough
and
to
they will be
still around,
family.
Give them a call once a week.
My God, do they love it when you call?
Out of the blue, for no reason. We're just thinking about you.
Yeah. Nothing more thoughtful.
So go on, pause the pod or wait 5 more minutes until we're finished and then call someone.
Yeah.
And tell them the great pod you're listening to.
Yeah. 5 stars, 5 stars.
Grace.
What have you got for us? Buy or sell, or both, as you are the special guest. Do whatever you want.
I love all of those. I think they're really good and they're very diverse. I think we're covering all bases. I want to buy the mental spatula and the mental bin to scrape out all those negative thoughts and throw them away. And just chuck them in there. And I think whenever you're feeling down or whenever those negative thoughts creep in, just remember you're in control. You have the spatula. Nobody else, you have it. And you also have a bin, so you can throw them out when you want.
I love that.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Go, Mum.
Thank you, Grace.
Don't even need to give her a call. Just send her the pod clip. Say, hey, Mum.
I'm going to call her right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, there you go. That's a great buy. 4 buys.
Episode.
Huge ep. Thank you so much, Grace, for the time.
No worries.
Obviously, if anyone would like to get in touch, is it Instagram maybe the best place? You're the head dietitian at Grams of Health. So maybe check that out. We'll stick those links in the show notes. Any final thoughts from you, Grace, or anything?
I think if you're ever wondering and you want support, there's if you have a problem with your foot, you don't go to your GP, you go to a podiatrist. So if you need help with anything nutrition-wise, maybe go to a dietitian rather than a GP. And also, I want to say I'm really happy for all 3 of you that you have such a positive relationship with your body and with food. And I think that's something that should be celebrated. So well done to each of you. Everyone's on their own journey. And I think that, you're all doing great. Keep it up.
Love that.
Thanks,
girl.
Grace.
Gonna go celebrate with a peppermint tea and a few more of those peanut M&Ms.
Gonna have some ice
I'm working
cream.
my way through.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's been Never
Good
Alone.
as a cream.
Cam, Merrick, what are they meant to do at the end if they've made it all the way this far? An hour and 25.
Give us 5 stars. Honestly, if you've given it this far, you're a super fan. 5 stars.
Tell your mum on the phone that Never Alone is a pod she needs to listen to.
Yeah, and
Or
tell
whoever you
her
call.
that we were asking about her.
That
Tell
too, if you want. That's a bit of an inside joke, but you've made it this far, so you are well and truly on the inside at this point.
Yes.
And let me tell you, if all things go to plan, we got a big episode next week. So stay tuned.
Big episodes every week. We've had Grace. We're going to have a few more. We've got Boston in 8 weeks. There's a lot happening in the world of Never Alone. That's it. So thank you to Grace. Thank you to Sissy. Thank you, Cam. Thank you for listening. Give myself a little pat on the back.
Thank you,
That's been Never Alone. Come one, come all, come running.
Come running.
We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bang.